Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of High Top Sports. I'm your host for the evening, Shelton Pete Walker. And of course, our man Billy Napier had a press conference, his second press conference after the Utah game on Thursday. Finally got to hear from him after, again, he got to sleep on it too, right? When we saw him on Thursday, that was raw, just like we have our raw show, and then he gets to digest everything, talk to the team, speak with the wife, take it all in, and really, have his thought about how the game went and where we're headed. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to break it all down and go over, because that's what we like to do. We like to kind of find, what's he really saying without him really saying. And I felt this time he got a little spicy at times, which I enjoyed. I didn't mind it. Look, I think we're gonna go back and forth. We're gonna play a little bit of a game here because obviously people want more out of him. But we saw this weekend with Shane Beamer in his actions, blaming guys eating hot dogs. That's obviously the complete opposite, right, of what we don't want to see. But that kind of reaction is a bit much. I mean, Brian Kelly at LSU always has some kind of audacious comment to say about his football team. So it could always be worse. And everybody was obviously clamoring we should have went and got Brian Kelly, especially how they finished last year. And now Brian Kelly's job's being, hung from the rafters. So dude, college football it's a hoop. It is fun to be around the fan base. It is so bad, and they're in the chats right now. It's to the point, like last year, it impacted me and affected me a lot more, right? But because of I see people who were completely bought in, literally 24 hours before the game, completely flipped over, and people that haven't even been on the show or commenting negatively, or trolls that haven't been around the show for the last month or two because they were sick of hearing how good things were going, are all right back in. And it just shows that's just the world we live in. And it's like, it's ridiculous. Like, how do you even manage that type of swing of emotions? You can't. You got to just keep chugging along. And that was the one thing too, is like, look, for somebody like Billy, a leader, be able to go into a situation and stay steady Eddie, no matter how shitty it may be or how high it may be, I think speaks volumes that we are overlooking. And unfortunately, he's had to face a lot of adversity in his first two seasons as a head football coach. And to not have more gray hair than he already does and not to pull all of it out, there's got to be some kudos there. And I'm sure I'll get some flack, for being the Disney Gator. But I'm just kind of speaking how I'm looking at it. You know what I mean? But look, I'm excited for how things are going to go. I've been excited. I'm ready to rock. We're ready to shake it off. And so let's talk about Billy and what he said. So first thing he said, recaps the game, disappointed with the team and execution. Execution wins games. We heard Graham Mertz talk about executing and not executing enough. And that was a big thing. One thing I love that he said, though, was that he felt that the Florida football team lost the game. And he said, look, I'm not trying to discredit Utah. That was something that we narrated a lot last year, right? And that's something for me that, look, I love that you admitted that, but how many times we're going to hear that? Because that was a lot of the narrative, too. Like, look, we lost this game by 3 points or a single score, and I was all in on that. And he's not wrong, but you can only use that and say that so many times where it's like, look, dude, you can't just keep saying you're beating yourself, because, yes, you are beating yourself, but what are you going to do to fix it? And that was my little critique. But at least, again, he kind of said it a little more direct than just beating around the bush like he always does. The biggest takeaway for me was the blame that he took. Just kept saying, look, this is on me. It starts with me. It's my fault. And I think he kind of mentioned it last year, but again, the way he delivered it, it just felt more. He said it a couple times, not just once. He really took initiative there. He even quoted the big man Kirk Cousins from the Netflix series. So I love that. And I love me some Kirk Cousins, just about leadership and going through things. Said success is a dirty process. He's not wrong there either. It is. And so here's the other part too, because people were asking about the game, asking about running, asking about special teams. And it's in a weird boat. Not that he cares what anybody thinks, but he's going to give you like, hey, here's what happened. Here's what's going on. And the questions were trying to point the finger without pointing the finger. And we're going to get into the media because they were ruthless this time. And I don't mind them being ruthless. They're frustrated too. They're fed up. And look, I appreciate them asking the hard questions. I really do. And they kept kind of trying to probe like, hey, is there a coaching issue? What happened on special teams? Like, is there too much going on? Do you need to do this? And he basically shut it down and said, look, this is not a situational issue. It's a one small, minute detail that went wrong, and that is it. And kind of just shut it down pretty quickly. So that was kind of interesting to watch. But they kept, again, asking him, like, with the run game and such, and where things are headed. And again, the coaching questions kept getting brought up, and he kept shutting it down pretty healthily, more than what he normally does. Usually he'll give kind of a roundabout answer, but he was more direct in saying, look, it's a one-off thing. Don't worry about it. So real quick, though, let me say hey to the chat. How you guys doing, boys and girls? Make sure you guys drop a like. Subscribe, Blanco, Larry Cox. Sheldon, you sold me some bad Kool-Aid during the offseason. Remind me never to buy a used car from you. I saw your comics, Larry. Look, I don't regret what I said. I said that before, and I'll say it again. What is interesting is, look, it's one game. If they go on to win the next, 8 to 10 games, you're going to come back and apologize? Probably not. If they lose the next 8 to 10 games, you're going to remind me about the Kool-Aid that you drank. And look, that's who I am. I told you what I was. You knew what you were getting into. So I don't think I sold you a broken down car. Sold you what I believe. Showed you what I heard too. So it is what it is. I don't regret how I went about my way. Let me see here. What else would we go over? So this was a great question. Levels of concern on fundamentals. Is he concerned about it? And somebody on my comment section, it was actually one of the best comments that I read. I try not to read too much of it because it was just nonsense. But it was a really just critical response comment, which I enjoy. I don't mind you guys being frustrated or discouraged with what's happening. I think you're allowed to be frustrated. I think you're allowed to be upset. You're allowed to show concern and distaste for what's happening. I think there's a way of going about it. But something he did, again, he kind of nailed it on the head, is Billy, who I have been adamant about, and how he ran through this offseason, how things felt like we were much further along, which he reiterated time and time again, Billy did, about how, look, we're way ahead of where we were last year. We're going through it our second time. We've got a process. We're organized, etc. All these great things, right? And the guy who commented, I can't remember his name, but said, look, Billy's supposed to be this organized, locked-in, dialed guy. Then how are we making such just small, minute mental errors on the football field? And I was like, look, that's a phenomenal question. I agree. I couldn't agree more with that thought process on that. So again, somebody asked kind of what the level of concern of fundamentals, and he danced around that question. I think it was probably the only question he didn't look as confident answering, because they're like, look, all this time you keep telling me everything's gonna be okay, but it felt like just like the basics weren't there, and that was kind of what the question asked. And again, only free tabs you can pull that card, where he basically said, look, what I just said of they keep beating themselves, and that was his response to that fundamental question, which again, I agree with that, but how many times are you going to beat yourself to where we're just like, look, dude, like this, what's up? You know what I mean? Somebody asked about, the low touches on run game. Do they expect to have more? And he goes, absolutely. And they asked, what's the game plan moving forward? He goes, well, look, I think history shows what we like to do, but I want to have a more balanced offense, which we kind of started towards the end of this offseason, realized that was going to be more of a thing. But he even kind of admitted, like, look, you're around 3-7, 3-14, all of a sudden 21-3, that the run game kind of goes away. And not that they were running the ball much early on. He did say they were effective in stopping the run. But look, I think they had a game plan, and he tried to say as much as he could without really actually saying it. So that was all interesting to see there. Again, almost 190 people in here. Make sure you guys drop a like, show some love. The one thing I did love, though, I have the wrong freaking thing up. The one thing I did love, though, was the media. Again, they asked some just ballsy questions. And just how they asked it, they kept kind of throwing the fire on him because, again, they were frustrated. They really spoke, in my opinion, for the fans this time, hounding him on just the lack of discipline that was happening on the field, asking about the lack of runs. And there was a question, this question I loved. It goes that he questioned the effectiveness of the offense since the last 3 times that we saw the Florida football offense, going back to Oregon State, that scored 3 points. And then obviously the scrimmage, the offense scored 7 technically, and then or 10. And then now this game where they barely scored 11. It's like, look, the last 3 times we've seen the offense, it's been absolutely atrocious. Since Anthony has departed, it sucked, is what he tried to say. He said, look, and Billy kind of hit him back with a little puncher, a little 1-2 punch, a little clap back, which I love too. He said, ask me that at the end of the year. Okay, fair enough. Look, just know at the end of the year, if you're still there, it's gonna come down to rain and fire. But I love the heat that came from the media this year. I love it. Somebody asked, how are you processing the losing? Like, just straight out. And usually, like, that's a question that I would ask. Like, hey man, like, how are you dealing with losing this poorly for the last 3 games going back to FSU? You know what I mean? Four times, going back to Vanderbilt, right? And just hit him right in the mouth. And he said he's committed to not getting used to it. Kind of said it with a little bit of a grit in his teeth. So, look, those were some good things, I guess. Saw a little bit of fire. Love the media. Pressed them a little bit. Again, they're just as frustrated as we are. And you don't blame them. You do not blame them. $10 remain. The professor. Whoa.
Go Gators.
Jeez, Benise. Says $10 says too legit in all his years of coaching has never had a false start on his run as a coach for a championship Coastal Atlantic team. Maybe we should hire him. I mean, if he's available. He's available. Oh man, you guys are fired up. Eat a dick. We're right back to it, huh? He goes, I'll apologize if he's in over his head. Billy, can we get a recruit? You know what I mean? Let's we settle this down a little bit. $5 from Chris Sorley. What's up, man? The Utah and Florida game was 4 days ago. If you're still upset, please seek medical attention immediately. Yeah, I'm surprised. Like, we got to move on, dude. We're on to the Cowboys. You know what I'm saying? We're on to the Cowboys, boys. Time to move on. Time to move on. Trust the process. Look, there's a lot of guys that are still extremely positive, which is always good to see. But for the most part, it's still very, very feisty. And, you know, that's just kind of how that cookie crumbles. But look, a little bit of fire, a little bit of clapback from Billy in the sense of, you know, asked me at the end of the year. Love seeing that. And again, identity was something that we talked about with Judd Davis just the other day. And that was, again, something that they kind of asked, like, hey, look, what is your identity? Are you going to go back to the run? And so it was interesting that Judd brought it up. We don't really have one. We thought it was running. Proved to be that we went away from it pretty quickly. So what is it? He said it's going to be a balanced attack. I don't feel we've seen a really balanced attack yet. But again, it's a new time, new day. What I am happy to see is a lot of the guys on Twitter saying, look, we're going to bounce back. Everything's going to be okay. You know, McNeese State, he acknowledged them for a little bit, saying they're you know, a good football team, and in a way he said, look, we're here to dominate and to do big things. So we'll see how he handles. We'll see how that goes too. Obviously, we'll have our show on Wednesday. We'll have a little more time to digest what's coming. Hopefully, we'll get some practice notes leading up to Wednesday. See how everybody's feeling, everybody's doing. I'm kind of like itching to hear what is going on in practice. You know what I mean? I would love to be a fly on the wall for some of this. I know that's not their MO, but let me in. Just let me go walk around, let me get a feel so I can let everyone know how everything's going, you know? Don't give me 15 minutes. I won't bring a camera. I'm just going to walk. Just going to listen, be a fly on the wall. Just let me hear. I want to hear what everyone's talking. I want to hear the vibes. I want to see with my eyes. Like, hey, does it look good? And we're just making stupid mistakes when it comes to football field. He even said, like, look, we looked a little rattled. We looked a little shook, like, you know, nervous. And he's like, I was shocked. I was surprised because of how well things were going. And again, is that just... And this is where people are starting to question the Billy. Is he just that oblivious to what's going on? I don't think so. I don't think so. But we'll see. We will see. Got a big class coming in. Xavier Filsame even tweeted out. He goes, guys, it was one game, relaxed. So everyone freaking out about recruits and wondering, again, we had Fletcher on, right, for the offensive tackle, 4-star offensive tackle that is committed. And he goes, look, I don't care what happens this year. I'm bought in 100%. And so everyone kind of panicking about this team. I think they understood what was on the table and, you know, what lies ahead. Again, we're still excited. I'm still excited for what is to come in this coming season. Got a lot of football left to play. I mean, think about this, right? Think about this. LSU and FSU game they played last night. LSU was ready to crown themselves, as were we. A lot of us in this chat were ready to crown LSU as SEC West champions, going back to the SEC and probably going to take down Georgia and be a playoff contending team. Now, 24 hours later, fire O'Brien Kelly. It's done and over with, right? It's done and over with. Wrap it up. See you later, alligator. I don't want to talk about it no more. So it's crazy. It's wild. And FSU now has won the national championship. They're already booked. I told Steve was going nuts. I was like, I don't even know why they're making them play the rest of the season, to be honest with you. I can't believe it. The way they won last night, how good they looked, I don't even think they should play anymore, to be honest with you. That's just me. But LSU even had some struggles. So LSU was horrible. I don't know if they say they were horrible. They didn't look great, but I wouldn't say horrible. I feel like they just they kind of had some coaching errors. I think Brian Kelly made some bonehead moves, but I wouldn't say horrible. What's up, Pimp Patty? Slav Squat says suddenly our schedule isn't anywhere near as bad. LSU, SC, and UGA don't look as strong as we had thought. And that's what's crazy, too. Look, it's week 1, and everyone's going to discount those guys as, it's week 1, right? It's week 1, no big deal. Tennessee didn't do anything crazy to Virginia. The stat line of the score does not show, in my opinion, what Tennessee did. And somebody had the audacity to say that Tennessee's sleeping in my head because I commented on their week, which was weird. I thought that's what we do on the show. We comment about other football things, but what do I know? Georgia, I think Georgia's going to be fine. They seem to always kind of start off slow over the last few years here. So I'm not going to really talk about them too much because they just got a system. Until proven otherwise, I can't really hate on that. But Tennessee, I think, believe is a lightning in a bottle. South Carolina, I mean, Spencer Rattler was all over the football field, but Spencer Rattler still did pretty well even with the scrambling. So it's going to be fun. $2 from Blanco says, Billy Nutsack about to shock the world. I love it, man. $5 from Cam Harton says, well, in other news, McNeese State got punched in their mouth on their opener, 52-34, Gators by 70. I did see that. I was nervous, bro. McNeese State gets out there and goes to get W. I was like, oh, could you imagine the noise going into week 2? What's going to be happening? You know what I mean? Oh, boys. Colorado's the hottest team in college football right now. Them and FSU. I think what FSU did last night really put a stamp. I saw like 19 people with FSU shirts on today. I was like, I bet you hadn't worn that shirt in 3 years. Like, what's up, bro? I saw people with their flags on their trucks. I was like, golly, dude. Here we go. You know what I mean? Oh, jeez. $1 from Tony Jim, my man. What's up, Tony? Good to see you, big guy. Cole says, Shelton, do you think Billy needs to let go of the offense, or are you fine with him calling the shots? I think I talked about it on my show yesterday with the play calling. The only thing I think what I agree with is passing the buck off to an offensive coordinator is if we keep seeing these mental mistakes, I feel like he's not able to manage, CEO the sideline as well. But again, I mean, what's Coach Prime doing? What's Saban doing? What do they do? I'm sure they're looking at the offense more heavily, more so than whatnot, or depending on where their strengths are. And I'm sure that's what he's doing. I know he hired like an offensive coordinator assistant. You got to think he's doing something. But also, too, you got to trust in the people around you. So if you don't trust them, I mean, you're not going to be doing anything. And that's the other part too, right? You're saying, hey, take away the offensive coordinating job so you can focus on what everybody else is doing. But if you had to go and micromanage, is that really going to be a better job, right? Are you really going to do much better? It's just, once you're there, everyone has a role to do. You got to trust everyone to get the job done. That's just what it is. You can't really try to fix it mid-game. I think that's what people kind of get caught up into. I could be wrong, but that's my thoughts on that. Fire everybody. I like that energy, Pimp Patty. That's a way to get about it. Billy got my $92. I'll ask him, Rick. I'll ask him. Yeah, TCU, man. And I mean, this is what's funny. Nobody was talking about this either. I remember last year when TCU was running, doing a lot of great things, made it to the championship. Look what Sonny Gray can do in his first year. He went all the way to the national championship. We're trying to say give Billy time. Now look, abysmal. They probably won't win 4 games, 5 games this year, but how they looked. I mean, their quarterback play is a little questionable, but they've got a ton of talent, and the Big 12 is kind of wide open after Baylor goes down. Who else went? I mean, the whole damn team. Texas Tech went down, so they may actually get some wins, but there's no shot in hell they make it back to the Big 12 championship unless a completely new team shows up, which is exactly what we're talking about for Florida right now. But I mean, if they fall off like they looked game 1, is that what you want? If you could go back now, would you rather have Billy go on a quick run to a championship, but then we're just right back to square one? You'd be in the same boat. You'd be like, we're stuck. Fire him. It is what it is, boys. I was thinking about this hypothetical. I'm reading through your comments, but I was thinking about a hypothetical today, right? If we know right now, if I said, hey, I got a crystal ball and I can see to the future, it shows me that the Florida Gators are only going to win 4 games. Okay? The Florida Gators are only going to win 4 games. But next year, things are on the up and up. But let's just say we know they're going to win 4 games. We fire Billy right now, right? We say, hey, there's 2 options. We fire Billy, right? And we start all over. We're winning 4 games whether he stays or doesn't stay. So let's say we fire him. Who do we go and get? And who do you think is going to come in for the remaining of the season? Again, they're only going to win 4 games, so the rest of the season doesn't matter. But how are they going to transition into the following season if that entire class is going to stick? And imagine with the transfer portal, the mass exodus, right? It's not like before where you fire somebody, a coach kind of comes in, and those players are stuck with that new coach, right? Everybody can dip immediately. That's a part you guys are misunderstanding now. Transfer portal puts a whole new aspect into the game that didn't exist prior to that. Now, somebody can come in and kind of, I know what the example is going to be, what Coach Prime did, and you get 80 new guys in, no big deal. If the person that comes in has that, that energy and that, just that, what's the word that I'm looking for here? That clout to bring that many people in. I just don't think that person's available. Or we know, hey, we're going to stay with Billy. We don't really win 4 games, but we're going to finish with a top 5 class. This extremely young team is going to roll right over and be that much more experienced that the chance that somebody goes into the only person I see we lose maybe a lineman and Ricky, but the class coming in and we got another year through this cycle. Here we go. Right now things are starting to move along. That's what I think people have to understand is like, look, I'm not saying I would love for the season to be good. I want it to be good, but I'm just saying hypothetical, right? If we could see the future, what would we rather have? Just think that through. May not be what you guys want, but you guys are killing me. The Urban Meyer's not playing here. You're coming back. I'd be shocked if you did. Look, I genuinely think that the transfer portal throws an entire wrench, and honestly, as I was saying it, I thought about it even more. A much bigger wrench into this than before. Right? I think that's kind of where that's at. With that, just with that being said, we win in 8 games. Look, I'm not being negative. I was just giving a hypothetical, like worst case scenario, right? If that were to happen. Now, I did see right before I went live, the Florida Gators dropped the recap from the Utah game. So let's go watch that because, I mean, hell, why not, right? Give us something to get fired up about. The Journey episode's about 2 minutes long. There we go, boys. I got you. Let's do the dang thing. Don't say anything about my tabs. I want to hear shit about my tabs. Give me a second. That's my editor.
These are the times when you really find out what you're made of. As individuals, as position groups, as units, what leaders we have, right? How you respond at difficult times is a measure of who you are.
From Rice-Eccles Stadium in Salt Lake City, Utah, we're at the base of the Wasatch Mountain Range, and tonight the season opener, the Florida Gators and the Utah Utes.
I'm humbled to be associated. I'm proud to be associated with the men in this running. It's I will. It's we will. And it's just us.
Throws a big one down the middle. It is caught at 25. Fake the handoff. Mertz throws. Mertz got it. Near side 50. Down the near sideline. And it is good. Rolling left, now running. Johnson, big hole.
Here's the lesson here, okay? Execution wins. Everybody understand that? Execution wins football games. It's easy to say the right things and do the right things, okay, and have character when it's all good. You find out who you are when it doesn't go your way. If you're a competitor, right, it's back to working, and you have to check your character. You got to check that. Okay, you got to be a great teammate. You got to respond.
End zone for Douglas. He got it. Touchdown Gators.
That's reality.
3, 2, and 1, and that will do it.
Everybody's going to take ownership of the things that they can do better, including the staff, and we're going to go back to work.
One game can't define the whole entire season. This team and special offensive line will come back and work their tails off to be where we want to be.
Enough said, now it's time to get back to work.
I mean,
What a game in Charlotte last night. So North Carolina beat South Carolina 31-17, and it's a huge...
Shut up, Josh. Was a good game, though. Oh, man. Let's see here. Man, you know what sucks, dude? Honestly, I usually, there's a few of you right now. I mean, right now we got a lot of trolls in here, which I usually don't mind. It is ironic to see the trolls in here. Like, this isn't even your team. Like, you're spending your time to come in here and look, I get it. It's fun. But I usually like to rock with a chat and have a good time. But there's just a lot of negativity, and I ain't got time for it right now, boys. So I'm going to sign out for now. Go watch the Clemson and Duke game. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Be good. Stay safe. Happy Monday. Depth chart should be coming out soon this week. But if not, we will see you guys on Wednesday. Be good. Love you. God bless. $2 from Cam. Thank you, man. Says, I feel like they took ownership of their mistakes. 100%, big guy. We'll be back, baby. We'll see you guys week 2.
I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella sure that I don't become you. I have no regrets, yeah, I'll tie up my chest. I'll never forget what it's like to be in debt. Been stabbed in the back bed, I'll show you what happens. Pass me the mic and I'll show you with action. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you can never own. I feel this pain, you already know.